In this video, we'll be doing some iconography, designing some icons in Adobe Illustrator. So let's jump right in. So as you can see here, we have two icons we would be recreating. And let's begin with our clock, first of all. And this is just to show you how to think around vector designs and icons in Illustrator. The same way with illustrations as well, we looked at how to edit SVGs, and in there we saw just the building blocks that we use for creating illustrations as well. But here, let's look at what we have. Now let's break it down into smaller bits. We have a circle that uses a border. We have our lines and our dots here that represents the different numbers on our clock. And then we have the hands, the long and the short one. So let's start working on this quickly. Let's create our circle. So start with that. We need to increase the stroke. Let's make sure we have something similar. Let's do 20. Let's do 25. But then we do not want the fill, so we need to remove that. So we use this to take out the fill. Let's go back to our move tool to move this. Let's extend this a little bit. We can reduce this. Let's work with 20, just so we match up what we have here a lot more closely. So now what we have here is a stroke, and we want to expand that into an actual fill so that we have a shape out of that. So let's go to our object and expand. You remember we've done this before, and click on OK. So now we have a shape out of that stroke. And next up, we want to bring in our circles, small circles. So let's just draw that out here. We hold our shift to ensure that our circles are properly lined. So I have one of them here. We duplicate that. And we have that here. You can select both. Hold your shift to make multiple selections. And we bring that all the way here. We'll still line them up, but let's keep going. Here we have our lines. So let's go in. I'm bringing a line. We can also work with a rectangle so that we do not have to go back to expand. So we can just extend that, create a rectangle, and make it rounded. So now let's bring this out. Let's turn this back in. We take this all the way here and duplicate that so that we have on here as well. And let's bring this out and rotate this. So we bring that over here. And we do the same thing, duplicate that and bring that all the way here. And now all that's left is the creation of the hands. So we can use our pen tool for that. So we draw a line going all this way, hold your shift to make it straight. And then we do this. So now if you do not want to have to go back to click on that ring, you can simply click on your enter. And now what we have is a stroke that has a fill. So let's go in here and increase the stroke. Make sure we select our fill and turn that off. We can bring this out. Let's go back to our move tool and bring this out. Now we need to increase that size. So I have something that looks similar to what we have in our image. Let's work with 20 as well. And then now you can see the difference here. Our stroke, because what we have is a path that we created using our pen tool, is sharp edged, on all sides, but we want it to be rounded. So we can edit our strokes here by clicking into this section here. So if I click on stroke, I can make the cap rounded, and immediately you can see that difference right there. So let's click on that and also expand it. Let's expand our appearance. Now let's click on our object and go to expand. Then we make sure our fill and stroke is selected and click on OK. Can zoom into that. And now we can make this one a little bit rounded. So let's go to our direct selection tool. Let's click in here. Let's make sure we're selecting just that area. If we pull this in, you can see that we make it round all the way, but that's not what we want. We just want a little bit of roundness. That would do. So let's go back to our move tool, zoom out, and bring this all the way here. So we need to reduce. Let's go back to our direct selection. You can select these three nodes here and pull them down just to reduce the height. Now let's see if this works for us. You can move this up a little bit more. Now what we would need to do is line these up. Let's make sure that they are centered. Let's bring this back all this way. Okay, so now let's also reduce this area. Let's take it back so that we have some space for it. Our direct selection. Let's select all these nodes here, and we can reduce as well the length of it. Let's go back to our selection tool and go all this way. And now we would need to just make sure these are aligned. Let's move them in a little bit. Let's make sure these are also aligned. And these are also aligned. Now we can make some more adjustments, reduce the length, reduce the shape. We can also choose to add some variants to this design to create our own feel. So we can create another ellipse, make this let's switch this here. So we're moving from our fill to our stroke. So if I click here, it switches, and then we increase this size here. We can go back to our selection tool, click in here, reduce the size. Let's make this a lot tinier so that, so let's try 4. Now 45, let's try 4. All right, and then we can move this somewhere here. Let's bring it out a little bit. We just want that little let's make this bigger. And now essentially it's just working around this to create something that looks a bit different. So can move this in a bit. We can change the color of this one to something else. Let's work around our blue here, smooth this up. See, so we have that purple. We can make these changes as well. See, we're working with trying to create icons for a brand and just working around their color palettes. We can make different selections here. To just create that difference, select these and make them a little gray. do the same for our stroke. Just make it a bit gray. And essentially, we can do more things, make some more changes, change what we have here, select all, make them just one color. So let's make sure we're converting this as well so that we're working with all of them as fields. So we select all of them. Remember, we have our question mark because they're different colors. So now we can make all of them one color, make them black, make them gray, make them white, whatever color we want to work with. And essentially just manipulate the icon as we please. So let's select this and group this and just move this to one side. Now let's bring this one in. And then same thing, we break this down, right? What are the building blocks? We have our circle, and then we have these spaces inside the circle. So let's bring in our circle. First of all, let's make this neutral color. Let's bring in our circle, bring that in. And now we're going to have another circle in there. So let's try to match that up and bring this in. Okay, we can make this white and move that all the way here. And then we also need to create this. So let's just use our pen tool. So make a selection here, make another selection here, and then drag that out. You can click here again to essentially give us a straight line so that we can work with the line sort of like this. So we click all this way and pull that till we have something that's similar to what we have. We can come back to adjust that. Again, we can click here, let's go in here and pull this out until we have something that's similar. You can click here again and click here. So now we have something that looks like this. Let's move this onto the shape here. And then here we can begin to start making adjustments. We can simply use our direct selection to make this a bit rounder. You can do the same here. Okay, so we're working with all of them. So we're making all of these a bit rounder. And then we can click on our pen tool to create a new node. So you can see that it changes from that star to a plus. So if I click here, it gives us a new node. So we can go to our direct selection tool and also work with the handles. So we can pull that out a bit. We can pull this out a bit. We can click on this and drag it out. We can click on this and drag it out. Now we'll do a lot of lining up here. I'm just essentially making sure that we have something that is proper. So let's say we have something that we want to work with, and so we would adjust these to make sure that they're properly lined up. We can increase the size of this if we want. We can move this one around. We can move this around as well. And then we select all three. I remember our shape builder tool. We move to our shape builder. What we want to do here is remove this space from the first circle we added. So we click on our Alt or Option key on your keyboard. We click on the first one, that removes that shape. We click on Alt again, click on this one, and it removes that shape. So now when we move back to our selection tool, we have just one shape with this space in between. If we move it over here, you can see that there's that space at the bottom. And now we can change this to whatever color we want. We can make this black. can make this blue, purple, whatever color we want. And now we can say we have an icon to work with. We can extend the size and things stay in place. We can increase it, we can make it smaller, depending on the use case. So when you start working on designs, you might want to create icons, create a custom style for your design. So you can move to Illustrator, create an icon, work around, you can look at different ones and just try to create your own style and use that within your design. So this is how we work with icons in Adobe Illustrator. In this module, we've done some design application. We've created a presentation design, we've created a social media design, we've created some icons, and we've shown how to work with mockups both in Adobe Photoshop and in Canva. In the next module, we'll be preparing you for the real world. We'll be showing you how to create your portfolio, how to apply for gigs, and just get your first gigs as a designer. I hope you're excited about that. See you there.